What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. We got Dallas this week, and what better way to be joined by CPNY Sports Network, Aaron from TMS. You guys already know they were here with us last week. Great to have you guys back on again. I'm really excited for this week, despite it being a David and Goliath type of a battle. But I think it's going to be a pretty good week. How are you guys feeling, man? I appreciate you guys stopping by.
Yeah, no worries. This is the first Sunday in a while I'm gonna not have anything to do but watch football all day. We'll see how Mr. DeVito does. We'll get into it today, I'm pretty sure, but my confidence is not as up there as yours, but I'm doing well. Glad to be back. I appreciate you having me on.
I just wish I had Tommy DeVito's life. I mean, his mom still makes his bed. Yeah, he gets meals at home. He lives 9 miles away from the stadium. I just said on That's My Sports earlier today that actually my co-host did. Well, I'm pretty sure that Tommy DeVito's in the sanitation business.
You know, we were talking about it a little bit before we went live. And first of all, I could absolutely see that. He has the face where he does look like that. Um, I think, I could see him working in like an Olive Garden or some high end Italian restaurant, all black. He got a little apron around his waist. I don't know. He just kind of gives me that vibe. Also, if I didn't see him in the NFL, I think he's just a regular Italian dude from New York. He just got that look. 9 miles from the stadium. Kid is coming home. Excuse me, he's going to Dallas, let's say. And honestly, I got to be honest with you, Chris. I mean, as optimistic as I'm showing right now, I'm not. How can you expect too much going into this week with Tommy DeVito at the helm? Your third string quarterback. We'll get Aziz Ojolari back from IR. But we all know the story. The last time that the Giants played Dallas, 40-0 week one, just an embarrassment, a flat out embarrassment. Andrew Thomas gets injured. We don't really get him back till last week with a hamstring injury. And, obviously, I don't believe that the Giants are going to put a performance like that again. But, I take into consideration what Dallas is. I mean, they're, I believe, 11-0 or 12-0 at home. They have the longest stretch. I mean, that defense is for real. Dak. I myself, I could put him. I could put myself in this conversation. I kind of got on Dak this year. Going into this season, going off of last year of how many turnovers he had, and how he didn't look like his normal self last year. And I got to give them a lot of credit. I mean, that offense is scoring a lot of points. They're very good at home. Usually against a team like the Giants, where, I mean, let's be real, they're not a good team. They're not a good team whatsoever. Dallas tends to do very good. And I hate that this is, a game on 425. Everybody's going to be watching this game, and everybody's going to be watching Tommy DeVito.
And not in the fact that we only scored 101 points so far this year. It's like last in the NFL.
It's bad. It's horrible. I mean, even without Tommy DeVito, I mean, this offense has not been able to put up points. And I thought he had moments, last week where he looked, fairly solid. He did have that one drive for 80 yards, led to a Wandale touchdown. But while Las Vegas was playing with, fire in their gut, playing for their new coach, this is a whole other beast here that we're talking about with the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm never scared to face my opponent. For me, I'm always, have the Giants in and week out, even when I feel that we may lose, because any given Sunday, right? But man, you want to talk about the odds stacked against you. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I mean, Dallas right now, I actually have this written down here. Dallas has the highest pressure rate. Evan Neal, he's going to be out for a couple weeks. Interior is looking, all right, if you will, right now. But again, you look at week one in Dallas, 7 sacks. I don't think that happens this week, but I could see a game if things get ugly. We're talking 5-6 sacks here with that Dallas defense. And I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence always seems to find a way to just torment Evan Neal. I believe hopefully Tyree Phillips is in the game, and hopefully he can hold his own. Because if not, I'm praying for Tommy DeVito. I am praying for Tommy DeVito. I mean, he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and that's great. But at the same time, I mean, if there's ever a week where I don't want to see my third string quarterback go up against a top 5, top 4 defense, it's this week with Dallas in Dallas against Micah. I'm scared. I can't even lie. I'm scared for the kid's life. But what are you guys thinking in terms of this game? I mean, what are your guys' expectations? I mean, do you guys I'm gonna be honest, I think it's slim, but I guess there is in some worlds a road to victory for the Giants in this game. But do you guys see any way that this Giants team could come out with the win? Do you guys see any reason to give you any hope that we'll see a decent, if not better, product on the field than what we saw this past week, putting up 6 points?
I'm gonna go ahead and take that one first and just give the realistic answer of no. And just to travel my answer back all the way to week 1, I really do feel like the season just derailed right after that blocked field goal return for a touchdown where Andrew Thomas got injured, and everything from there just went downhill. And so I don't really necessarily think there's a way to beat Dallas. The spread in terms of betting odds is at 16.5 right now. So that gives you a pretty big indicator of, where Vegas is taking these lines at. But what I want to see is, and we got into this on the Feeling Blue podcast that Aaron and I do separately. We got into the fact that this offense has nothing to lose at this point. Tommy DeVito has nothing to lose. If you're gonna go down swinging, go down airing the ball out. This guy's an undrafted rookie. You might as well see what you got in the guy. And like, this is his tryout for another squad down the road, right? If he doesn't get brought back to the Giants, this is his tryout. So no better than in Dallas. You're going to have eyeballs watching you. And then also, just from the other side of the ball, the Giants defense ever since the Bills game has been phenomenal. I talk about the linebacking core with Bobby O and Micah McFadden, that pairing right there. Micah McFadden has, I think, a 90.6 PFF grade since week 6, and that is third among all linebackers in the entire league. So this defense has certainly been doing enough to win the Giants ball games. The offense just hasn't been producing, obviously, with the personnel that are down, the quarterback situation, etc. But at least if we see the Giants fight, certainly some more fight than 40-0. That would be, I hope, a standard and a given. But yeah, that's where I'm at with this. Glowinski's out. Evan Neal seems to be out. Tommy DeVito, like you said, I'm just going to echo you. I'm scared for him, to be honest with you. They are going to be coming after him. But if he shows some poise in the pocket and just lets that thing fly, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? So that's what I'm looking at. But I want to see how this defense compares and if they're going to come in and be as dominant as they have been for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I think you're on mute.
I am on mute. You were absolutely right. I just want to read Chris's comment real quick, Aaron. I apologize. He says, what does Brokeback Mountain and the NFL have in common? Both Cowboys suck. Okay. I see you there, Chris. I just want to get that out the way. Floor is yours, Aaron.
Yeah, that was a great comment. I was laughing when I saw it. I mean, the only good thing for us, right, is the linebacking core.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently we found it in Bobby Cherokee and Mika McFadden. I know Tyree Phillips is starting because I guess Evan Neal's out, which Chris just said. And I guess Brent Bredesen and Pugh are going to be the guards. So maybe it'll only be like 6 sacks. I don't know. But I really want to see Jalen Hyatt go off in this game. I want to prove that Dallas Cowboys got wrong, that he's not just speed, he can run routes. May not happen. I don't know. But I don't even care if we only score 3 points. At least we'll be 3 points better than the first game that we played them. And we haven't beaten Dallas in a long time. Even when Eli was here in the end of his career. So I just kind of want to see what this offense can do or what weapons we have. Maybe Brian Dable steps in, takes over for Cap, because I don't know what's been going on this season, why we can't score or, pursue, but like just use our weapons that we have. We have all this speed and we just don't use it. So maybe I just want to see him do that. And then the defense, I just want Kayvon to keep doing what he's doing. I want him to get into that slump where he's not going to get any sack or any pressures at least. And he goes back to just getting beat by the left tackles. Sometimes he does that. He goes too high and left tackle beats him up. So, and I actually said on X on Zane's X account how he says, how many plays is Azeez Elijah going to play till he gets hurt? I said 2. So hopefully I'm a little over than 2 plays, but
I hope it's a lot more than 2 plays. And,
yeah.
But no, I mean, I completely understand. You know, I'm a huge fan of Azeez Ojulari, but at the end of the day, you know, that is a position going into next year's draft that I'm saying to myself, we need to address that position. I love Azeez when he's on the field, but I can't rely on Azeez to stay on the field. So, you know, and I'm hoping that, because I agree with the both of y'all, I'm hoping that we could see a better performance than what we saw last week, especially on defense. I mean, I thought last week was, I mean, Banks, in my opinion, that was probably the worst game that we've seen from Deontay Banks, you know, which I'm not going to get too hard on him. He's a rookie. He's been playing he's had a very solid year this year. I'm not going to get too hard on him, but Josh Jacobs was able to run all over us. You know, the Giants, you know, we haven't really been giving up too many big plays through the air this year, and we saw that last week. Now, I say that to say this, you know, last week, you know, Dallas was able to shut down Philly's run attack. You know, CeeDee Lamb had 191 yards through the ground. Tony Pollard, however, did not look like himself. He did not look like himself, and I do believe that that's going to be a point of emphasis going into this game. You know, for Dallas, I kind of feel that they might be viewing this as, if our defense can do just enough, our offense doesn't need to go out there and, you know, Dak doesn't need to go out there and put up 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He'll probably have like 175-yard plus game, maybe 2 touchdowns. They do struggle in the red zone, which is a plus for the New York Giants defense, but you know, for me, to me, that was something that stood out last week to me against the Raiders, at least, was, you know, I felt in recent weeks outside of last week, we've been able to manage the run. We've been pretty good at the run. Shout out Mark the Blue Giant. Bobby O is a dog. So is Micah McFadden. I'm really loving those 2 linebackers right there. And, you know, I feel like outside of last week, we've been playing the run solid. And this can't be a game where we can't stop the run. Because if we can't stop the run, I mean, you're talking about putting a lot of pressure on your defense right there when there's already pressure on the defense as is, because our offense can't score any points. So, you know, I want to see Jalen Hyatt get in the end zone. I'm speaking into existence. That clip is going to come full circle by the end of this year. He's going to get in the end zone against Dallas. But going back to Tommy DeVito, it's hard. It's hard for me to get optimistic. He's playing as advertised, you know, a UDFA quarterback. I mean, he's made some bad decisions at times. He's looked inaccurate at times, but I can't get too hard on him, you know, because what more can you really expect him to do, you know, given the situation that he's in? I just want to see this Giants team look respectable out there. You know, if you're putting up a fight, if we're, you know, putting some drives together, we're able to at least score some points. And I can leave this game saying clearly Dallas was the better team, but there was some things that I liked in this game and we just didn't lay an egg. I might be okay with that. And I hate losing. Anyone that knows me, I hate losing. I despise it, but I might be okay with that. Now, let's see here. Chris says, with Azeez limited, can we see Isaiah Simmons line up at edge? I agree with you there, Chris. I wouldn't mind seeing Isaiah Simmons play at edge. I want to see Isaiah Simmons on the field more.
Yes.
I really want to see him get more opportunities. Anyone other than O'Shane and Zimenez, anyone besides him, I love Jihad Ward, but at times it just kind of feels like Jihad Ward is taking up space on the fields. And again, I to echo really what you said, Aaron, I really want to see Kayvon come in and dominate this game and just continue to do what you're doing. The last time that they played in Jerry World, I mean, Kayvon had a pretty solid game last year at Thanksgiving. He had a pretty solid game. That's where I felt a lot of Giants fans started noticing, hey, like, if he can really put this together, he can be that dominant edge that we drafted him 5th overall for. And who knows? I mean, he could come out there and have a game where, he looks pretty solid, maybe a sack or two. But this team, I mean, again, just a David and Goliath type of a battle. I mean, it's going to be very hard for this Giants team. I mean, just last week they gave up 8 sacks against the Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, and they don't have a Micah Parsons, a Sam Williams, an Osa Odigizua, a DeMarcus Lawrence, a Mozzie Smith. I mean, it just keeps going. You got to respect Dallas and their ability to not only draft, but develop their players, because and my girlfriend's a Dallas fan. I hate it, but I know, but I'm a lover of ball, so it's like I give respect where respect is due. And I really respect that D-line. Now I will say this much, right? I want to see this Giants team really attack the middle of the field against that Dallas defense. They do not have linebackers playing on the field right now. They have a bunch of safeties playing in the middle of the field right there. And it's been working for them. You can make an argument outside of last week. Look at the talent and the teams that they've been playing. Obviously, this is the NFL. They don't get to choose who they play, but it's been working for them. I want to see the Giants try to attack the middle of the field. They're going to be honing in on the quick plays. They're going to try to, drop some things to confuse Tommy DeVito. We all know they're going to be stacking the box to stop Saquon. I'd like to see them attack the middle of the field. I mean, I know you want to get high in the end zone, but do you see any way that this team can build up any drives or drives, period? Because I got to be honest, man. I'm not feeling too good going into this game. I just got to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to work those quick routes, to be honest with you. They're going to have to work those quick routes. I think, Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be an option for Tommy DeVito moving forward just in the short game. We know Wan'Dale Robinson is explosive. He can excel in that short game. I don't think that a game like this is an advantage factor for Jalen Hyatt. So we can sit here and talk about Jalen Hyatt all we want, and the whole draft conversation that was had with the Cowboys scouting personnel and the routes, but this long game with the Giants, one, has been non-existent for the better part of this year, minus on in a couple of games with Terod, but especially with this O-line, like you said, David versus Goliath, this O-line versus that Cowboys D-line, that long game is not going to be there. So I want to see the Giants start to incorporate or keep incorporating their short games. So this game is a little bit more advantageous for Wan'Dale Robinson to get involved than more so Jalen Hyatt. But yeah, that's how I think they attack it. Saquon's going to have a tough time. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to watch the full Raiders game, but the game before that against the Jets, we saw what was happening there. Saquon Barkley was running it every single play. I know we like to talk about the north-south versus east-west movements of Saquon Barkley, and sometimes how he gets a little pitter-pattery around the line of scrimmage, but he's doing the best that he can, honestly, with what he's got to work with, not only on the offensive line, but having to be that workhorse every single week is just very tough on a player like that, no matter how much skill you have. So I don't know how productive these Giants running backs are going to be. Like you said, they're going to stack the box, and they're going to force Tommy DeVito to throw that ball. And I really hope that we can see some progression out of Tommy DeVito. But at the end of the day, whatever happens out there with Tommy DeVito's performance, I'm not taking any stock into it. I'm more so shifting my focus back to the defensive side of the ball. But that offense is going to have a tough time to work around. So I don't know if there's any Giants over-unders, but I'd certainly take that under.
Yeah, I would certainly take that under. Again, Dallas's defense, I mean, right now I'm looking at it here. They have the highest pressure rate. I mean, this Giants offensive line gives up one of the most pressures in the NFL. I mean, just off of that alone, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And I look at the next 3 games for Dallas. I mean, outside of this week, you know, it looks like a pretty easy schedule for Dallas. I got to really hand it to them. I mean, you got Washington coming up. I believe they have Carolina coming up. I mean, they could be sitting at 8-3 by the end of this 3-game stretch. And they should be, if we're being honest here. I've seen some Giants fans on Twitter specifically, you know, stating that this is the perfect upset, you know, and listen, I got to look straight into the camera here. I'm one of the most optimistic people you will meet on this app. Sometimes I get called a homer. Sometimes I'm a little delusional. I can admit that. I need to sip whatever you guys are sipping on out there. Because I've seen some people making it seem like this kid is going to come in here and throw 3 touchdowns and we're just going to completely catch this team off guard. And again, anything can happen, but you're going against one of, if not, I would say at this point, I mean, just from how they're built, you can obviously put their, their number in as well in terms of the position. But I think they're a top 6 team in the league. That's both NFC and AFC. You know, and some may disagree with that, and that's fine. But it seems that every time that we play Dallas, it's just a bigger juggernaut of a team to play. I mean, you had players the last time that we were playing them openly say and be quoted to say, we're going to beat the brakes off of these dudes. And what did they do? They came in and beat the brakes off of the New York Giants 40-0. For me, can't see too many mistakes on the field. The Giants, unfortunately, are a team that can't afford mistakes, and we can't afford to beat ourselves. I want to see this team go out there and actually look like an NFL offense because it hasn't all year. It really hasn't. And it sucks because I feel for a majority of fans, going into this year, the biggest concern for at least from what I remember was people complaining about the defense. How is the defense going to come along? You have a rookie corner out there. You might have 2 rookie corners out there. How is it going to come along? Whole time, I mean, I think we can all agree that this defense now is the strength of this team. This defense is the reason why this team sometimes, at least, are in these games. And it sucks because this offense can't produce points. And if we had even a fraction of the production that we had last year at offense, I mean, I think we're having a completely different discussion about this team. And it sucks. It really does suck. Chris says, would Hyatt score a TD on a slant route like OBJ did in all of 2016? Man, I got to be honest with you, Chris. I would love to see 13 running a slant to the house again. I mean, just for, the old time's sake. But
I don't think Kafka knows how to do that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand why they don't get involved in that sort of slant game given his speed. We know that he can catch the ball, right? His hands aren't the issue. So why is he not being schemed up to have some more success in some short-term passing game and maybe break one loose? It doesn't make any sense to me. How you've not thought of that or tried to implement that already, it makes no sense to me. So that's a great point.
Yeah, no, it never really made sense to me either. He's another player that I want to see get more action as well. I feel like right now with this stretch for the New York Giants, it's a matter of evaluating this team, seeing what pieces are going to be building blocks going forward, what pieces aren't going to be building blocks going forward. There's definitely some pieces that I thought would have been building blocks, going into not just this season, but possibly next season. And they're not. I mean, I'll put him out there. I mean, I thought Isaiah Hodgins would have been a bigger factor in this offense. Haven't really heard too much from him. He had I believe it was last week where he had that crucial drop against the Raiders. Great coverage. It got punched out, but Isaiah Hodgins last year makes that catch. Another player as well, which I actually want to get your guys' thoughts on this, Xavier McKinney. He's really ruffled the feathers of a lot of Giants fans in the past week or so. if not more. I know for a lot of Giants fans, this kind of stems back to the hand injury last year, how he handled that. Kind of came off almost defensive when the media was just asking him basic questions, trying to get information. To me, I really wasn't a fan of that just due to the fact, you're a captain. I understand that's maybe what you want to say, and it's probably warranted. But at the same time, like, you're a captain. There's certain things you do, there's certain things you say. And unfortunately, with how it's looking right now, and y'all can correct me if you think otherwise, you guys in the chat as well. When I think of Xavier McKinney right now, I think he's a solid player, but he is not a leader or a captain on this team. And call me a little crazy, it started to make a little bit more sense why that dot got removed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean,
to make a lot of sense.
It does. It does make a lot of sense. And I'm not saying like he has no right to not speak out and speak his thoughts, but there's a methodical way you do so, especially playing in the market that you do, right? The media is going to make this and blast this out of proportion. Whether how big or small it is, we truly don't know with Wink Martindale's recent comments and all of that stuff. So I'm not going to speculate on that, but like there's just a methodical way of how to go about that. Now, like we said, in terms of moving forward, what is he really going to be asking for in terms of a contract, right? I mean, all of this has to sort of be against him and go against him in terms of those negotiations, right? And I don't think that he's going to, let a sort of, I guess, he's not going to get skimped on his money, right? He's not going to get skimped on his money. So that makes the decision to go after him and retain him that much harder. Plus, Chris, you and I have both talked about Jason Pinnock stepping in very nicely in his role moving forward. And if you let a guy like Xavier McKinney go, Jason Pinnock, who's already probably that main guy as in terms of the safety group this season, right, in terms of production, is going to be that main guy moving forward anyways. So you just got to find that who's going to be playing right next to him. You got Dane Belton, but you also got a whole new draft to find somebody too. So you also got Javarius Owens, who's been on the shelf too for a little bit. Obviously, he got drafted this past year. We haven't seen too much of him. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of this Giants secondary, not only from the cornerback and safety position, both of those position groups, I should say. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with Xavier McKinney moving forward. And just to go back to that injury, I get it, understand that he's a young player, but with the position that the Giants were in at that point, I mean, I just feel like better decisions have to be made, especially if you are a captain. You know what I mean? And 100% echoing just having a young team like the Giants do and a young position group back there. I think really the only leader back there would be Adoree Jackson. And it's kind of a head scratcher how he's still on the roster anyways past the trade deadline with how youthful that secondary is. But that's neither here nor there. Xavier McKinney's a hell of a player. I just don't know if he's going to be, I guess, fitting in with Dable, showing this regime, Shane and this regime and company moving forward. It's unfortunate because he really is a good talent in my mind.
He is. He really is. I mean, you could go to that. You can go to, when Patrick Graham and Joe Judge were out of the building, one of the first comments he made was talking bad, about the coaches that were just here, and I get that a lot of people were frustrated with Joe Judge and, Jason Garrett. But I thought, Patrick Graham was the least of your concerns. You had a solid career under Patrick Graham. I mean, and you could make a very good argument that if Patrick Graham would have been retained and you're still playing in that same defense, you could probably be changing the market coming out of, this upcoming free agency. If he builds on that production, the production hasn't been there. I hate saying this because I saw a tweet and it kind of brought like flashbacks in my head. Y'all tell me this, and y'all tell me if I'm crazy. Wouldn't it just be the most Howie Roseman thing for Xavier McKinney to leave this team and Howie Roseman from the Eagles swoops in and takes Xavier McKinney? That would be the most. That would be the.
Do they need him?
They need him? They don't. Actually, let me see here because I believe Blankenship.
They got Byard.
They
They
did
got
trade for
Byard.
Byard, yeah.
And then Blankenship, I believe. I like Blankenship a lot, but I'm not sure if he's going to be a starter for them moving forward in the next couple of seasons. But no, I agree with you. They always find a way to make it work over there. I'm not sure how.
Yeah,
I mean, Xavier McKinney is what Landon Collins is doing. Landon Collins wanted to be a Redskin so bad that when his time came up, went to the Skins. He just said he likes Patrick. He loves Patrick Graham. Best years. Maybe he wants to join Pierce in Oakland in Las Vegas and go be a Raider, because there has to be a reason why before the season started we probably think that we don't need him, or he just doesn't fit in the new regime, because I could see that in all honesty of why he's doing this, because it's just so random that all of a sudden he just keeps creating these like narratives and stirs up in the locker room. Because even Andrew Thomas was like, we don't have problems voicing our concerns, and he's a captain as well.
Yeah. And it was kind of crazy because, all of this is happening. And then for Wink Martindale, your defensive coordinator, to come out and be like, yeah, that caught me by surprise. Like, I looked at my phone and I said, huh? Like, who? And when then he proceeds to say, when I confronted Xavier in our meeting, to give us examples for his frustrations, and it took him a long time to come up with something, and then ultimately it's one play. I mean, it's just not a bad look. I know it's all water under the bridge right now, and these guys are going to compete. Maybe this lights a fire under Xavier McKinney. Maybe, we'll see, but it's not looking good for Xavier. And I'm a big fan of McKinney. I wanted him when he was coming out of Alabama. I was happy that we got him. And I honestly, I do feel that the Giants, maybe they approach it like a Julian Love situation where it's, this is the contract. If you want to go test the market, you can come back. And then I could see a situation where he might do that and he gets a better offer, and the Giants, they take their offer back. I could absolutely see that. And, to your point, Chris, I agree with you. When Tre'Davious Owens, he's someone that I want to see more as well. Same with Dame Belton. I think if Dame Belton comes down with some of those interceptions last year, we're having a different conversation of Dame Belton. We're having a different perspective of Dame Belton. But, for me personally, I want to see some of these younger guys get a little bit more time, see who's going to be on this roster come next year, see who's not going to be. That goes for Jordan Riley. I want to see him get more action. I don't know why the hell, I get that you paid Aaron Robinson this big money, or quote unquote big money. But see what you got in Jordan Riley. See, you drop. It don't make sense to me why week in and week out he's not on the field. It really doesn't make sense to me. And you got to hope that something changes going into this week. And I think it does. But is it going to be enough to beat Dallas? Probably not, man.
No, it's not. Well, and not to put like salt on the wound in terms of the McKinney situation. But also, you heard him start to make some comments about this regime as well in terms of not aligning philosophies when they traded Leonard Williams. And it's like, dude, that the Giants aren't going to be competing this season. And, to go and out the front office like that in terms of, saying blatantly that you don't have the same vision, aligned goals for this season is just sort of absurd to me. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, as this discussion directly relates to Dallas, none of this is going to really bring us over the top there. And honestly, I mean, I'm not sure how in tune you are with, but my eyes are now on Caleb Williams and Drake May conversation, and those two coming now. So it's a great Saturday to discuss that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfect transition, because that's actually something TMS had asked me before we went live. So I got to get your guys' thoughts on this. And obviously you guys in the chat, drop your thoughts too, because let's be real, Giants, we're not going to be in the playoffs. I mean, I don't see that happening. So I think right now the attention should be turned to the draft and looking at these quarterbacks. So let me ask you guys, TMS, you kind of heard where I came from earlier. I don't mind going over that again. But Chris, I'll start off with you. Are you Caleb Williams or are you Drake May right now? Or you somewhere else? Like I gotta hear where you
No.
at right now.
Well, I mean, it has to be one of those two guys. You can't reach, right? It really does depend on how this plays out. Kyler's coming back for Arizona. Justin Fields probably coming back sometime soon for Chicago. You would think that those two teams would at least win a few more games. It's certainly looking like they have more shot to win more games than the Giants do. So maybe the Giants can go ahead and leap and go right into maybe a 2 or 3 spot in the draft. If you don't come away with Caleb Williams or Drake May, your focus has to either be trade back or just take the best player available. You talk about Marvin Harrison's probably going to be there too, a couple other options. I don't see why the Giants need another wide receiver given the gap in quarterback talent and the offensive line, but that's neither here nor there. You cannot reach on a QB not named Caleb Williams or Drake May in the top 5. It's just not possible. The Patriots trading up is not likely, but they're probably going to be the only other team gunning for a quarterback if the Bears decide to stick with Justin Fields. In terms of Caleb Williams versus Drake May, to answer your question, I honestly don't care, to be honest with you at this point. I don't care. Drake May looks fantastic, and Caleb Williams, I know that he's been having a little bit of a struggle recently, and everyone wants to talk about the whole media presence and the whole incident of the camera catching him in tears with his mom after the game. That doesn't faze me. I don't think that should be a knock against him. Does it concern me a little bit? Okay, sure. Just because it is the New York media, we're talking about the same conversation that we're having about Xavier McKinney. We don't want that to spill over into a quarterback of the future type situation. But that's neither here nor there. These guys are both a premier talent. I was just tuning into the UNC game before we went live here. I think the last time Drake May was like 19 of 27, 239 yards. He did throw a pretty silly pick, but he moves well on his feet. He moves well behind the offensive line too. I do understand it's the ACC, but at the end of the day, I'm fine with either of these two. I just want to see when it's all said and done. I hate to be that fan because I'll never ever cheer against the Giants to not win. But like, it's one of those things where it's like you can't not help but go on like tankathon.com right now and just look at like who's trending where, you know what I mean? And look at the Arizona Cardinals and go and see that Kyler's coming back and like, oh, we can maybe leap them for that higher pick. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that if a situation arises where the Giants are sandwiched in between both Chicago picks, the Bears are going to have a field day with that one because I really do think that I don't know what the internal discussions have been so far with them or even any of the reports, but if they take a quarterback, it's probably going to be Caleb Williams, I would think, and that just puts the Giants right there for the taking. Drake May. That's probably the best situation. Like you pick your poison, whoever you want, and the Giants will get whoever they don't draft. But like I said, my overall discussion and my thought process is that if you can't walk away with either of those two in the top 5, you got to find some value somewhere else. And I hate trading back. So if there's a player you love, you got to do it, but you can't reach on another quarterback. And that's where I'm at right, with the quarterback situation.
I mean, there has been one quarterback from USC that went to New York and he just didn't do anything. He literally sees ghosts.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Sam Darnold.
I knew you was gonna go there once you said USC.
But no, I mean, in general, I've never trusted a USC quarterback. It's like USC and Alabama they just do not do anything else. I don't know why. Like they have successful college careers, they won't do anything. So I don't like Drake May either, just because it's like we already drafted a guy from the ACC, and Daniel hasn't done anything. I'm just nervous. Who in UNC history has done well in the NFL as a quarterback? I mean, Sam Howell, right? The enemy, but what if he didn't have him? So it's like my thing was you trade Daniel somewhere, just say, hey, we messed up because he's broken. He's done. Just the look on his face. He's not going to be in New York anymore. Trade him away somewhere, wherever he wants. We're probably going to eat some of his salary. Sign Tyrod for another year, and then maybe go do Shadur Sanders out of Colorado because he's been balling out over there. People don't realize it because it's Colorado and it's Coach, but I feel like playing better than Caleb Williams out there. He doesn't have offensive line. All skill too. That should not have an offensive line. He's getting hit. So it's tough. Ultimately, I think they're gonna go man because of what Chris said. And also too, I think I saw who put it up there. NYG is perfect in the scheme. I can see that.
I could see that too. And I'm a fan of both quarterbacks. I think May is a very talented quarterback. He has a rocket of an arm, great decision maker. I love his footwork. Pocket presence is great. But for me, I've been pretty vocal on it on Twitter. I'm about to make him my background. When I see that we're close enough, and I believe that we're close enough, he's going to become my background. Same as Kayvon was, and I had people calling me crazy. People telling me there's no way Kayvon falls past the Jets. It's gonna be Sauce, and I was like, nah, chill. It's gonna be Kayvon. Watch, we got him. I'm telling you, it's gonna be Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams will be a New York Giant. I don't think he pulls an Eli Manning if Chicago has that first pick, though I hope he would. I don't see that situation. Honestly, and I would love to get the German Bear here. He's a great Bears content creator. I've had him on the show before. I'd love to get his thoughts because I know that he is a fan of Drake May, and I wonder actually if that's something that a lot of Bears fans look forward to. I know Poles is a huge Williams fan, but I could see them going the May and Harrison route, which I don't think any team would complain about if you're able to get Drake May and Marvin Harrison. Either way, Chicago still has a problem to me that I think it goes a little deeper than the quarterback because I don't think necessarily Justin Fields is the issue. I don't trust their coaching staff. I don't trust their coaching staff to develop these players. I don't trust their offensive coordinator and the QB coach to develop this quarterback, whoever they draft. And again, I don't think that Caleb Williams would pull an Eli Manning. But would it really shock y'all if we were to see that happen again and it just so happens to be the Giants on the other end of that once again with Eli Manning, doing that? There's got to be some room of possibility for that to happen. It might be small, and obviously I'm just shooting the can, but you get Caleb Williams in this offense with these weapons and this coaching staff, I think that helps the offensive line. I absolutely believe we score more than 11 fucking points in a game with Caleb Williams. And, it would be nice. I think, the torment that we have been through in the last decade as Giants fans, I'll call it even if we get Caleb. I'm going to just say it. If we get Caleb, I'll be able to turn my eye the other way on the last decade of football and be like, it was worth the pain and misery. But, and I love Drake May too. I think either or, you really can't go wrong. The Giants, and I'm with you, Chris. I never want to see my team lose. I hate the word tanking. I hate the idea of tanking. But let's be real, y'all. And you guys in the chat as well. Let's be real here. If there is any year for the Giants to get a quarterback, let alone to be in the top 3 drafting, which does not happen a lot, unless you're the Giants. It does not happen a lot. This is a great year to get your quarterback. This is a fantastic year to get your quarterback. I mean, and even outside of those two, I've seen some people talk about, McCarthy, just like Chris. I thought, you could take today's performance as whatever. I saw some people really getting on him on Twitter, posting his stats and whatnot. I thought that was a very good defensive game today from both teams. So I'm not going to get too hard on him. I don't think he's in the same class yet as May or Williams, but we'll talk about more draft prospects as the season ends. But I don't mind McCarthy. But for me, even as much as I love Drake May, to me it's Caleb Williams or bust, man. And I know not everybody's on that train, because and even if we got Drake May, I'm not gonna complain. I didn't complain when we got Daniel Jones, and I wanted Josh Allen. So, I'm not gonna complain. But this coaching staff deserves, and they've earned the right to go and select their guy. and it sucks for Daniel Jones. It really does. I want to get your guys' quick thoughts on this. It's really not a big deal, but it seemed like a big deal on social media. You had fans posting their goodbye videos to Daniel Jones, and then you had other fans saying, "This is corny as hell. I see why we're the dumbest fan base in the league." Where do you guys stand with that? Because I felt like I was kind of in the middle where I was like, damn, like
Yeah.
he was with us for 5 years. I had some good moments with you. Like, I believe in you, but like, yeah.
Nah, I'm definitely it's definitely overdone. I, and I just feel like that side of the fan base, who felt the need to make those sort of goodbye videos, I think it really is because I don't think Daniel Jones got a fair shake with the personnel with the Giants. Not only the personnel and the offensive line, but also the coaching changes throughout his career. I don't think he got a fair shake. So that's where I see sort of like, all right, like, okay, because I could see him being and revitalizing his career elsewhere. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and post goodbye videos to Daniel Jones. Like, he's no Eli Manning, even though everyone wanted to make him out to be the next Eli. And for a little bit, I actually kind of bought into the narrative because I was like, all right, we got something in this guy, but it didn't come to fruition, and that's okay. My thing is that one, what happens to Daniel Jones moving forward? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, one, so this is a 3-part question, right? This is really a 3-part revolving question in terms of who the next quarterback's going to be. You got one, if Tyrod Taylor, whose injury is not season ending, that is so they say, comes back, do you play him? Because the Giants can win games with Tyrod Taylor, and that's going to directly impact your draft standing. Do you play him? That's question one. Question two, what happens to Daniel Jones? Do you find a trade partner, maybe eat half or more than half his salary and move on with him, or will he be your backup QB next season? Because I don't think there's any way he's going to be starting for the Giants next season. And then three, who do you draft come draft time? It all goes hand in hand. Like,
It
all these
does.
QBs and their different situations have a direct impact on one another. It's kind of crazy.
It is only the Giants.
Yep.
Only the Giants. And you know what? Again, if there's ever a year where you can go and get your guy, it's this year. I'm not too crazy about next year's class. I mean, we'll see if Shador goes next year or this year. I personally think he should go into this year. I would hate to see that offensive line get that kid hurt. He's very talented. But yeah, I mean, oh God. Yeah, I would have never thought that this team would be where they are at right now going into this year. I mean, I look I look very fucking crazy because I had this team winning 11 games and we're at 2. We're at 2 with 9 to go. So unless we go on an undefeated streak, nah, it's bad up here, man. But yeah, no, I mean, I think with the whole Tyrod thing, that's a very good question. Because if he is healthy enough to come back, who you can make an argument he's another guy who obviously you look at what happened after the Bills, he got stabbed in the lung by a doctor, didn't in LA, it didn't go too well in Houston. He hasn't been given the fairest of shakes, if you will, despite him having a long tenure in the NFL. But I think that might be something the Giants have to consider. Do you risk? I mean, I want my team to win every week, but do you risk putting yourself out of position to get one of these guys to win a meaningless game? And I get, it'll help the locker room, and I get that, it's good for the team. I get that. All these wins are nobody wants to lose. I sure as hell don't want to hear Xavier McKinney complain about losing each week. But I don't want to see my team, put themselves out of a position to get who they want. Now, granted, obviously, they traded Leo and got that second round pick. But I'd like to keep that second rounder, that extra second rounder. I would like to use that on an edge player or maybe on a CB2 to pair next to Deontay Banks or another wide receiver possibly. I would like to keep that additional second round pick and not have to trade up and trade assets when I could have really avoided that had been just keeping Tommy DeVito or Matt Barkley if God forbid something happens to Tommy DeVito in the lineup. I think with just this stretch alone, with the teams you have left, it don't make sense to bring Tyrod back. And I hate saying that because it comes off as like I'm not going to say a loser mentality, but it almost comes off that way. But again, it's like, look at these quarterbacks here. Right now, the Giants hold the 3rd overall pick. They lose against Dallas. I believe that goes up to 2. And you're going to move yourself out of position for what? So it's just, I hate saying that. I hate that we've gotten to this point where we're not rooting for this team to lose, but you're not going to be upset if this team loses because you're looking at the other side. And maybe this is just you got to go through this to get to the other side. And the bright side is Caleb Williams or Drake May. You get your quarterback for the next decade. And I think we can all agree either one of those quarterbacks are significant upgrades over Daniel Jones, who I'm a huge fan of. But you get either of those quarterbacks completely elevates your team. Even as rookies, in my opinion, I feel elevates your team. And trusting this coaching staff and trusting Kafka, who has experience with Patrick Mahomes, who just last year, a lot of people were talking about, we got to keep this guy here. He can't get a head coaching job. Are now wanted to get him removed out of, the offensive coordinator position. I mean, which I could absolutely see happen. I could see him being the scapegoat this year. But I just think you got to go. You have to go QB in this one. When you have Giants legends like Victor Cruz coming out and saying, something has to change. We got to address this quarterback position and start fresh. It's serious because Victor Cruz don't say nothing negative about this team. It is hard for Victor Cruz to find anything negative about this team. So, I agree. Let me get to a couple of these comments. I apologize. I'm a little late. NYG31 says we should at least win 5 games. Let's look at the schedule here really quick. I think you can, if you count Washington, maybe. So you got Cowboys this week, Washington after, then you got the Patriots, Green Bay on Monday night, the Saints, the Eagles twice, and the Rams. NYG, I go back with you heavy. And I got a lot of love for you, bro. I ain't seeing 5 wins. I'm trying to look hard as hell on my screen right now. Y'all see me squinting? I ain't seeing 5 wins. I'm just not. I maybe the Patriots game is winnable, but outside of the Commanders game, I mean, they got a hard stretch here. And honestly, again, that's only going to help them, get to where they need to get their guys. So 5 games, I don't know about that, NYG, but I love the optimism, though. I really do.
That's generous for sure.
Chris says, I'm with Hit Squad. I'm in between. Jaden says, hell no, Chris. Sit Tyrod. Yeah, you have to. Chris says, do they have enough to pay Tyrod? To be honest, I want Saquon to be paid before him. That's a good question, actually. I actually want to get to that Saquon conversation really quick. Obviously, they didn't reach an extension last year in terms of a long-term deal. They were able to get something done for this year. You can make an argument at this point. It don't make even more sense to give him the extension. He's already been injured this year. Do you see this Giants team giving Saquon Barkley an extension this year, this offseason, or do you see them saying, okay, like, if we're going to start fresh, we need to start fresh. We need to get some young guys in here. If we're going to do this our way, we're going to do this our way. Saquon, we love you, but we can't. The age, the injuries, the contract as well, like, we can't. Where do you guys stand on that? Do you see him being a player that comes back? McKinney, that's a whole other conversation that we could have. But a player like Saquon, who's going to be heavily relied on going into this stretch, got to be wondering to himself, You guys didn't give me a contract. You guys are about to run me into the fucking ground again. Going into to end this year. Excuse my language, but at times I feel almost frustrated for him because we see almost year in and year out when he is on the field, this team will run this kid into the ground. And I get the economics of the NFL. I wasn't too upset when he didn't get his contract extension last year, but it almost seems like he's not going to get it this year, at least with the Giants. Do you guys think that happens?
No, he's not getting it. He can't stay healthy, so it's like I don't like he wants Christian McCaffrey money, not and which I really want to do back for success. Does it though? I mean, he's never field, and I get it. Last year, Quan, and it's like that's why Daniel Jones went 15-5 TD interception ratio, blah blah blah. But it's like it's never. And we're not going to pay big money for a running back that we can get in the draft.
Yeah. No, and I hear you. I mean, you get Eric Gray in this past draft. I don't know if he's that bell cow for you. I think he's a nice complimentary piece, but I think they do pick up another running back, even if they do bring back Saquon on another 1-year deal. Eventually, they're going to have to find that replacement. Is that this year? Is that next year? I'm not sure. Now, to answer your question, Chris, honestly, I could see a world where they give Tyrod the extension for another contract, comparing it and not give it to Saquon due to the fact of the position. And Tyrod, he has familiarity with the system. If Daniel Jones isn't on this team next year, which I believe that he will, but if he's not on this team next year, that's a great quarterback too, a great mentor, a great bridge quarterback. That's really Tyrod is the definition of a bridge quarterback. Almost everywhere he's been at, he's been a bridge quarterback. So I can see that situation where, Tyrod's maybe the QB2 again, and you keep Tommy DeVito on the practice squad. I know that there's some people that want Tommy DeVito as QB2. I wish I had y'all's optimism, but I would much rather prefer to put Tyrod as my QB2. Or just re-sign him just due to the fact that, again, the familiarity, the veteran leadership that he brings. And again, he looked pretty decent in the lineup prior to his injury. So we know that he can go out there and win you a game. We know that he can at least command the offense. So I could definitely see that. Chris says, with DeVito being limited, what do you guys think of using Saquon in the Wildcat?
We've seen it before. We've seen him do that. It hasn't had much success. I don't know if he's a Wildcat type player. We've seen him try to do that. Sure, maybe a couple plays here and there, but just to touch on the contract situation for Saquon, I actually do think there's a way that the Giants can retain him. They're sitting at about $38 million in cap space for this coming season. I think there's a $6 million rollover from this year over to next year. They're working with just over 38 mil, if I'm not mistaken. So what I do first off the bat is I go to them, I say, hey, listen, this is what Jonathan Taylor just signed. 3 years for 42, 14 million on the dot. You get 14 million, you get your contract, and we leave it at that. We can't pay you a dime more than that. That gives you and that leaves you with about $24 million in cap space to probably sign maybe one big free agent offensive lineman, and perhaps maybe one star defensive player, and then build through the draft from there. Or however they want to mitigate that rest of that $24 million. Because we've been talking about QBs this whole time. We haven't talked about the offensive line once, which is also going to be an interesting situation moving forward too, especially with Evan Neal and his status at right tackle. So I think that you can give him a Jonathan Taylor type contract and satisfy him in that way. But if he really does want that extra $3 million that CMC is getting paid, it's not happening. It's not happening. So I just want to touch on that. But yeah, the Wildcat, it is what it is. I don't think the Cowboys defense is going to be fooled by it. They're going to stack the box regardless. And, Saquon's just going to have a tough time matching that production. So I think he's better out of the backfield catching passes in terms of production this game directly than he is running the ball. So,
yeah. Definitely. And Chris, again, I want to echo that because we did see Saquon run out of the Wildcat quite a bit last year. It almost felt in the beginning of the half last year that was our damn offense with Saquon running our Wildcat. We saw that a lot. Then after the Green Bay game, it kind of fizzled out. for me, I don't mind it, but I don't see a team like Dallas where that's going to be ran a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of quick game stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some shots downfield because Dallas does play a lot of cover one. You look at the Raiders. The Raiders played a lot of cover one, and we saw Daniel Jones as well as Tommy DeVito try to take advantage of that secondary. There would have been some pretty nice plays with to Jalen Hyatt. Bad throw by Daniel Jones on an overthrow. There was another one where I've seen some people get upset at Daniel Jones for the ball placement. I've seen some people get upset at Jalen Hyatt, saying he has to catch that in bounds. I'll leave that up to the coaches. To me, those were opportunities that the team I know is wanting to get back. And again, I can absolutely see that, with Dallas honing in on this run attack, they're going to be stacking the box. They're going to be expecting the quick game. So if you really want to catch this team off guard, I mean, that's definitely a way to catch them off guard. But yeah, no. And Chris K, I wanted to put this up here because I do agree with you. I do think that Saquon, if he is back on the Giants, does help the new quarterback coming in. And I think it will bring some success as well. Saquon, having a back like him on the field, having a threat, let me not just put him in the description of a back. Having a threat like Saquon Barkley on the field not only helps your quarterback, it helps your offense as a whole. So for me, if it's a feasible contract, kind of similar to what you were saying there, Chris, in terms of Josh Jacobs, if it's something like that, I don't mind it at all. Because I don't even think a lot of people outside of Josh Jacobs thought he was going to get that contract, or excuse me, Jonathan Taylor, as well as Josh Jacobs getting the contracts that they got. I don't think that a lot of people saw that coming. Jim Irsay completely shook up the market when the market was very depleted for running backs. So that'll be some leverage for Saquon Barkley. And I hope that he does get it. Especially when you look at the rest of the season. Teams are going to be stacking the box. They are going to hone in on Saquon Barkley. I would love for him to get his contract. I don't think it's with the Giants. I really don't. I think they're going to do this rebuild properly. They're going to start from scratch. They're going to get younger. They have core pieces right now in building blocks. And I think Saquon is one of them, but I do think that he is one of those building blocks that, unfortunately, next year may not be on the roster. Jaden says, I'd re-sign Saquon. He's the offense in the face of the franchise. I get it. Yeah, you can
never
make it
healthy.
Yeah.
How can he be the face of the franchise if he's never healthy?
Yeah. Exactly, yeah. And I mean, comparing it to Daniel, sure, I could see that argument there, Jaden. But yeah, to your point, Aaron, he's not that. If he was more healthy and more consistently on the fields, and we didn't see these injuries that we've seen in the last couple of years, I think unequivocally he would be the absolute face of the franchise. I think right now, currently, you can make an argument that he is in a sense. Because I don't think Daniel Jones is at the moment. But that ain't saying too much either. But guys, we are going to cut it off here. I appreciate every single one of you guys stopping by. Seriously, it means a lot. Jaden, Chris, Mark the Blue Giant, Coach Ed Gladney. I saw NYG 31 up in here. Tara Belly, appreciate you guys stopping by. It really does mean a lot. I put the links to CPNY Sports as well as the TMS Podcast YouTube channels in the chat below, but they will also be in the description box below. Go subscribe to these guys. They make excellent New York Giants content. Love working with these dudes. They're great people. Go show them some love. While I have you guys on the line, is there anything else I almost said, is there anything else I can assist you with? Feel like I'm at work. Is there anything else you guys want to say to the channel?
No, man, I appreciate you having me. It's not been the product and the season that we've wanted, but we definitely have more content coming on the way, out of the New York Giants in terms of discussing this offseason coming up. A lot of stuff to still discuss with this team moving forward, but we'll see what happens tomorrow and go from there. But appreciate you having us on. It's always a pleasure, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And also me and Chris, I feel haven't done any live streams just because literally our title is Feeling Blue, so we've been feeling pretty blue about the Giants. check that TPNY Sports YouTube channel. So 2OB on That's My Sports YouTube. But yeah, just thanks for having us on. It's been great. Always trying to find some positives in this Giant season, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we need it. We need it because there's not that many positives right now going for the Giants. There's some bright spots on this team. I think we're all aware of them. A la the linebackers, this defense right now. But again, week in, I'm going to keep saying this, week in and week out, we got this. Let's take it 1 week at a time. We can vent our frustrations with each other. That's why these, these streams happen and why these videos happen. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. But yeah, appreciate you guys making the time to stop by, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you so much.
Let's go Giants.
Yes, sir.